Hi, you're right. I just thought I'd record how to do the assessment task B in case you miss a Zoom lesson or have it there so you can always refer to it later. So in Google Classroom, I know this is ICT-P, but this also relates to ICT-F. Now we have the assessment task B. Now there are three attachments. One is the notification, and that contains the questions. We've got a slideshow here attached as well, and that's all the theory that you need to understand in order to complete the task. And then we've got Code Guppy Playground, which will help you test to see if your JavaScript works correctly, and it will also identify any mistakes in the code. So they're the three things you'll need. So just quickly, let's first look at the assessment task notification. So this is due this term, and this is all we'll be doing for the remainder of the term. There are two parts, part A and part B. Part A involves a robot disk moving challenge using VRX, and you need to move blocks of code and put them into the color corresponding box. This one is relatively similar to Lego Mindstorms, which we did in term 1. Now, part B is what I want to make this video on, so you can refer to it. So we are looking at the coding language JavaScript. Now, there are a few questions that you need to answer, and these are the questions here. Now, what you have to do is you have to identify what is incorrect in this code below, okay? Now, everything in red is hinting to you how many mistakes there are in each code. So for example, the first one, the code below outputs hello. So hint, it is missing one symbol. So there's one mistake here. All right, and then it's similar throughout the rest of the questions. Okay, so I'll explain how to do this in just a moment. So these are the questions you need to answer. Okay. Now, the theory behind the task. Now, I've just extracted the most important slides from the really big slideshow called Digital Technologies. So it's easy to access and it's all attached to the same post. So we're just going to go over the theory quickly so you can refer to this. We will be doing this during our lessons as well, but I want to, again, just record this for you so you have it there. Okay, so variables are used to store data in a program. Variables are given a name and a value is inserted into it. The value of a variable can be changed using code at any time. This is very similar to when we're looking at variables with the microbits in the concrete pot unit we did last term. So having a look at slide 4, which contains lots and lots of examples, you can see that these are all variables. These are variables, everything here is variables, okay? Operators, that's something you'll need to look back on to understand what different operators do, okay? So keep this slide and constantly refer back to it. And statements, a statement is a coding sentence that performs a function. Okay, so these here on slide 4, these are all statements and they all do different things. Okay, so that's what it refers to when it says a statement. A really important thing you need to remember is that in JavaScript language, each statement ends in a semicolon. Okay, that's here. Have a look at all these statements. The very last thing you see is a semicolon. Okay, that's really important to remember for your assessment task because there may be questions that don't end with a semicolon. Now, this is where you need to start putting all of these statements into codeguppy.com to see what they output. For example, the first one, it's going to print hello. So if I copy and paste that into CodeGuppy and push play, see how it outputs hello? Okay. This one here will output what is 6 plus 5. This here will output the two variables. They'll 52 plus 87, and it'll output a number. This one here will output what variable C will be. So print variable C, and we know that A is 5, B is 9, and C is A times B, meaning 5 times 9. Okay, so it'll print C, which should be 45. This one will print your name. This one will print this, the total of this number. This one will print an average. So variable A is 54, variable B is 96. The average is A plus B divided by 2. That's how you calculate average, right? So what you're asking it to do is print the average. So it will print this number here. And same with this one. If something costs 96, if you have $96 in your bank account and something costs $16, it'll print how much money you have left, which equals, this is money left. And money left is cash minus cost. So cash, which is 96, minus cost, which is 16. It'll calculate that sum, and you just have to type money left. So the first thing you should do is copy and paste all of this into CodeGuppy one by one and see what it outputs. After you've done that, you'll be able to answer questions 1, 2, and 3 for your assessment task. So print, hello, there's one symbol missing. Now you already did this we already had a look at this. So you can look directly at this or copy and paste it into CodeGuppy and it'll tell you what is wrong. There's also a hint that guides you in the correct direction. So get rid of that, copy and paste and push play. It's telling me that it's missing a closed bracket. So let's look back here. Where should the closed bracket go? Well, I know it should go here. So I found out how to make, I found where it's wrong and I've corrected it. Okay. Now, the next one, the code below adds 3 and 4 and then outputs the result of 7. Okay, that's fine. So variable A is 3 minus 4 and it should output 7. So let's give it a go. Let's copy and paste it. Let's put it in CodeGuppy. Oh, it's giving us -1. It should be giving us 7. So you have to think, what's wrong here? All right. Same for question 3. Now we're looking at more in depth. We're looking at conditionals, iteration, and comments. First, let's look at conditionals. This is, again, referring back to digital, where we did the concrete pots. We looked at conditionals. And we looked at something called an if statement. Now, a conditional is a code that gives a program the ability to make decisions based on an input or data. The most common conditional is the if statement. So if something is true, then it will do something, like we did with the microbit activity with the moisture sensor. If the soil was above a specific number, it displayed a happy face because it didn't need to be watered. Here is an example. If the hour is less than 18, then it will display good day. If it's anything else, it'll display good evening. So when you look at question 3 as well, there's something in there that is incorrect. Okay, so it's telling you that you have $256 and it should output that you can buy it if the price of the item is less than what you have. So have a look here, and there's only one symbol that is incorrect. Okay. Now, conditionals, iterations, and comments. We've already covered conditionals, right? So iteration. So iteration is the repetition of something. In this case, a piece of code. So we're looking at now at question 4. The code below outputs the numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, so let's have a look at the examples of conditionals, iterations, and comments. Now you can see that on slide 10. Very similar to slide 4, but these ones directly to relate to the last 4 questions. Okay, so again, make sure you copy and paste these into CodeGuppy to see what they actually give you. What is the output? So you can better understand what all this coding actually does. So iteration. Let's copy and paste this one here. This has got to do with iteration. Okay. Now it's going up by 1. So we've got 1 to 20 here. Now, if you want to display the sequence of 1 to 20, you need to input in the code 1 to 21. If you do 1 to 20, it'll only go up to 19. Okay. Now, pay close attention to that when you start looking at these questions here. There's a question about that. Okay, it's here. All right. The next one is on comments. Now, comments are just extra text that a programmer puts in the code, which does not do any function. It only helps with a human reader to understand what the code does. So for example, you can see below here, there's heaps and heaps of JavaScript code, and it can become quite confusing to read. So programmers, they use comments in there so you can quickly identify what that actually does. And when things are written in commas, when things are comments, it always starts with this and then the comment. Okay, always. For example, look at slide 10, always look at slide 10 and 4 for examples of what you're learning about. Slide 10, we've got this code here. All of this on the right, they're all comments. That has nothing to do with the program. Okay, that's only for a human reader to understand. And you can see that they all have 2 forward slashes there, okay? That's how you know it's a comment. So if you look at your task now, one of the questions is, there are 4 mistakes in this code. Well, we can already see that there's one there because it doesn't have a double forward slash. Again, don't just stare at this statement and try and identify everything that's wrong. Copy and paste it into CodeGuppy because it can guide you with what the. Okay, so now you can look at the assessment task. Everything, you need to make sure you read the question first. Look at the hint so you know how many symbols or what's incorrect and how many things are incorrect. And then copy and paste the code into CodeGuppy and try and identify either the 1, the 2, the 4, or 5 mistakes in the code. The last question here, okay, there's only 7 questions, but the last one is the most challenging, okay, very challenging, but see if you can try and identify all 5.